What is going on, guys? Thanks for coming out. This is Ando, and today we're going to be doing something that I wanted to start. And I know a lot of the people, we've been doing this on stream, but a lot of people wanted to see this on YouTube as well. So we opened this up first to a small few sample sizes. Make sure that, I wanted to make sure that I had like the time to commit to this. But basically, we're just doing roster reviews. These guys are some of my commandos, which is basically just a sub on Twitch. Which reminds me, make sure you guys come out and check out the Twitch streams, guys. We do those every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sundays starting at usually around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll do roster reviews there too. So if you guys, this is something that interests you, for sure, come out there. If we have any time, we'll take a look. But what I wanted to do is basically break down some of the things that I see. So basically what I did was I made three categories, basically below 1 million, 1 to 2 million GP, and then 2 to 3. And so today we're going to be looking at the below 1 million. Okay, so obviously this is going to be a analysis on FLLMP's roster. However, I'm going to try to give out some generalities as well, so that way you guys can kind of take some of that stuff and run with it as well. Also, if you guys see anything, be sure to hit up the comment section below. If you guys may be seeing something that I don't, which is very, very possible, be sure to, give them some advice as well if you guys have any. The more people that give people advice, like the better usually your account becomes. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about right here is just off the glance, the arena teams, because especially like earlier on, arena is important. It's a way that you can get crystals daily. You might be in a good guild. You might be in a guild that gets you a ton of crystals through TB, or gives you, in the sense of fleet arena, gets you some zetas through territory wars and stuff like that. But ultimately, like, it doesn't really come down to the same thing that you fight for daily. Even if you're a great Grand Arena specialist, getting Kyber every single time, that's usually once a month, and that the Kyber box I think has like 200 crystals in it. So if you can just get 50 crystals a day, you can really maximize that crystal amount. So obviously the arena team is very, very important. So right now, off the top of my head, like, I can see that you have Newt lead, which is a great lead, and you've got Asajj, and you've got Dooku, and you've got IG-100 and Bastila. And I know why you have Bastila in there. You're probably calling either Asajj or what I would assume is actually going to be Dooku, to give him the speed up, the offense up, and stuff like that. I get it. Bastila is definitely an option. Definitely not wrong in doing that, but would rather see a Separatist. And the whole reason why I'd rather see a Separatist here is that you have this awesome Zeta, to be quite honest, about, whenever the Separatist ally inflicts a debuff, they also deal 5% max health damage. And yes, when you call to assist with Dooku, you're probably dealing some debuffs. However, a guy like B2, who's throwing maybe 1 or 2 debuffs on everyone, now all of a sudden, like, you're lowering that, you're lowering down the health pool of like the entire team. And I think that's really, really good. So don't ever take that for granted. Even a player like Poggle could pretty much do the same thing, and he's going to ability block on his basic. But within his unique, he has this thing where he, basically, if they're not a Geonosian, he's going to give them some offense. So you're giving passive offense to these two guys, plus, he can give them offense up, and he's got his own ability block in there. It's very similar with fleet rank here, or with your fleet. You would love to see a Houndstooth. I understand why you probably don't have a Houndstooth out here. And typically you would like to see Phantom 2 as a reinforcement, just because it allows you it basically allows your capital ship to bring out more ships. And a lot of times earlier on in fleet, that's really what it's about. Like, everyone's kind of got crappy ships. It just really depends on who's the ship that has 4 ships out versus who's the ship that has 5 ships out versus who's the ship that only has 3 ships out, right? And so a lot of the stun ships that or ships that can stun or that can kind of affect speed, i.e. boss, or especially early on when there's not so much synergy within your fleet, that can really help you. So in the future, would love to see a boss here, or would love to just see him in a reinforcement, and so that way you can get that fifth ship out, or if they take out your bigs or whatever, you're able to kind of keep 3 or 4 ships out as long as possible. All right, so let's go into the inventory now. Okay, all right, so your overall roster, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so your overall roster, it's very, very good, especially for your 568,000 galactic power. I like the fact that you have really honed in on the Separatists. However, what I will say is, like, this is no fault of your own, and obviously, things happen. I think you probably went Phoenix first, or maybe you went Separatist first, and then you kind of went to Phoenix later. And so that has kind of, because you went for both, there's usually like the Separatist route and then there's the Phoenix route. Because you kind of went for both, you're a little bit like spread out right now as to what I would compare to being like super focused roster, which is okay in most regards. If you had went Phoenix, I would say, hey, your arena team should probably be your Emperor Palpatine and Vader, and just get Vader with his awesome Zetas, and then you can just run that until you get to Jedi Knight Revan. But because that is not the case, and you have kind of chosen Separatists, I think you are in the position where you have to go all out on Padme. And I see that you have a 6-star Padme, so kind of what I was talking about earlier, let's take a look at your Separatists. You're right here. Like, I think B2 is your final piece. Like, I know you have this Geonosian Soldier. I know you have Poggle at 7 stars. But I think B2 is going to help you tremendously in that event, so that way you can get rid of protection up, you can kind of get rid of the taunts and stuff like that. Okay, so let's look at your Galactic Republic. All right, so you do have a Padme. She's level 1 and at 6 stars. You also have a General Kenobi who's at 5 stars. You have a GMY who's at 5 stars, and you have an Ahsoka Tano who's at 7 stars. The big key here that I'm like actually kind of worried about right now for you with this Padme team is that you need to have JKA. So I think he has got to be like your #1 farm right now. I would say honestly, to like, other than B2, because I think you need to get B2 up there to get the 7-star Padme. But I would say like he kind of has to be your focus right now. He's got to be the farm that you go with. Yeah, once you get your Padme team, you got to start leveling them up. And yeah, once that happens, you're gonna need to add all the Zetas to them too. Like, this is the problem that I see with the Separatist route. Players aren't ready for the gear. These guys, I think you have to stop all gearing, other than maybe like I said, B2. And I think you really got to just kind of hoard gear for the next month or so, or however long it takes you to get B2 to that 7 stars. You're currently in a spot where like, this guy takes up a ton of Carbontes, a ton of stun guns, just a lot of that heavy gear that no one likes to give up. She does as well, surprisingly. Jedi Knight Anakin, I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think he's necessarily as bad, but these guys have got to be like your next arena team. And then I would include GMY in there as well, because I don't think you're going to be anywhere close to ready for C-3PO. R2D2 is not going to be much of a help at 5 stars. You're not going to be really in a position to put any other Galactic Republic, and you really do need to have a full Galactic Republic team. So, yeah, your pros for your roster right now is that, at your GP, the teams that you have selected to gear up are, going to be right there up there with like the rest of them. You don't have anything that can take out a Jedi Knight Revan, so for those guys that went like hyperdrive bundle straight into Jedi Knight Revan type stuff, you're not going to be able to do that. But I think like at your GP, you're not really going to be facing someone that does that. So Grand Arena, you should be good. You have you've got a Phoenix team, you've got some teams that you can place on defense, you've got an Emperor Palpatine team. with Thrawn that you can place on defense, and all of a sudden now you have some options, which is great. Um, but I think adding that Padme team is really going to push your arena up. It's going to make your Grand Arena more competitive. Now all of a sudden you do have a team that can take out the Jedi Knight Revans, and even like if you have a modded right, they can take out the Darth Revans as well. So yeah, like I would say stop all gearing up right now. I know it's gonna feel like you're kind of stagnant for a while, and that's okay. That's the big pros of your team, and Padme's a great team. She can punch up to very high levels. So that's definitely your pros. All right, so the cons that I see right now, like I said, we kind of talked about like diversity being a little bit of a weakness as compared to someone that just went straight for Separatists and then they unlocked their Padme and now they're just running Padme. Um, but having Thrawn is never a bad thing. Having Emperor Palpatine and Vader and all those guys is never a bad thing. Where I actually see your biggest con in here is you do not have like any bounty hunters. And this is a very common thing with team like new players. These guys are so foundational to your game. They give you credits, they give you training droids, they give you shards, they give you crystals. Although they might not be like the best PvP team out there right now, there's nothing like super attractive about them. The fact that they're like I can see like just by the levels of your characters and like you're experiencing the credit crunch and you're also experiencing probably training droid crunch, and all that stuff would help. I'm not saying it would completely erase, but it would help by having a bounty hunter team. My current suggestion for you is, again, stop all gearing of the kind of, I won't say the not important characters. They're important characters eventually, but I think right now solving your arena is going to be kind of the top priority, which means probably getting B2 starred up and leveled up, and then getting your Padme and gearing her up and all those people. So with that being said, my future suggestion is do that, and then once that happens, I would focus on your bounty hunters. For the list of your next Zetas, I have your number one priority is going to be Padme lead. Your next Zeta will be Padme's unique, because I'd say those are arguably the two most important. So Unwavering Courage and Always a Choice. And then from there, I would say go Jedi Knight Anakin's, because basically for the same reason that I just said, like those are kind of the most important Zeta. She's kind of like the most important piece of that team. And Jedi Knight Anakin's is basically allowing her more turns. As soon as someone goes below 50% health, he gets a turn and then she gets a turn. From there, I would say the GK unique, having him taunt pretty much any time that a bonus protection or protection up goes away. Never a bad thing. He's the tank. He's supposed to be taking the hits, so that's always good. And then from there, I would do the Ahsoka Tano unique. But overall, great roster, and hopefully you found this useful, FLLMP. And for the rest of you guys, hopefully you guys have found this helpful as well. Again, give him some comments, give him some of your own feedback. I'm not going to do too much of deep dives into modding, because especially at this stage, like it's pretty hard to come by good mods. Like, I'm looking at this from the aspect of being a 6.4 million GP player, and so it's hard for me when I see something, I'm like, oh, that's not right, but then I'm like, oh, well, it's probably the best that he has. So modding is going to be one of those things that, like, maybe in the later ones we'll talk about a little bit more. But overall, right now, like I said, great roster, and keep up the good work, man.